devil would return. If anyone read from the Book of the Dead.
Hello and welcome to another marvelous video. I'm your host Will. Ever since it first appeared in the Evil Dead series, the Necronomicon has made a name for itself. So much so that it has appeared outside of its home series. In this video, we're going to look at several instances where the Necronomicon has appeared in different shows. Let's get to it. Believe it or not, the idea of a cursed book is the easiest and maybe even the laziest way to make everything instantaneously dangerous. I mean, all you gotta do is open the book, read a few lines, and everything you know and love goes for a toss. And who does it better than the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead franchise? After all, the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, aka the Book of the Dead, is one of the most recognizable forbidden books in horror cinema. In fact, over the years, the book showed up in other movies and shows and made its presence known. With the newest film from the Evil Dead family, Evil Dead Burn, releasing on July 10th, 2026, we'll see what the Necronomicon has in store for us. But for today, let's talk about when the Book of the Dead appeared outside the Evil Dead franchise and made us look twice. Jason Goes to Hell, 1993. Starting with the most unexpected one in the list, Evil Dead's Book of the Dead along with the Kandarian dagger made a brief appearance in this ninth installment of the Friday the 13th franchise. Early in the movie, Jason is blown up by an FBI trap. However, after the coroner ate his beating heart, yeah, that happened, I'm not making this up. So, the coroner ate Jason's heart and was then possessed by his spirit. The only way Jason could return to his original form was by possessing a Voorhees blood relative. However, the ardent fans who have been following both franchises closely saw something unexpected. Among the dusty horror clutter, we saw the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, also known as the Book of the Dead, lying inside the old ruined Voorhees house. How did the book find its way inside the warped world of Jason Voorhees? I mean, that's gotta raise a few eyebrows, right? Director and co-writer Adam Marcus in 2017 went on record to say, Pamela Voorhees made a deal with the devil by reading from the Necronomicon to bring back her son. This is why Jason isn't Jason. He's Jason plus the Evil Dead. This meant Jason was no longer the boy in a lake, but dead-eyed Jason, who came back from the dead. To make Jason's backstory a little more plausible, Marcus said, in the first movie, Jason is a little boy, 30 years dead and trapped at the bottom of a lake. By part 2, it's only 2 weeks later, and this kid has grown 2 feet, so that's the logic I have to build off of. That is when Marcus very politely asked Sam Raimi, the creator of the Evil Dead franchise, to lend him the dagger and the book. That explains why Jason is practically unkillable. But Marcus knew he could not explicitly come clean with this idea because New Line, the production house that owned the rights of Jason Voorhees, had no stake in the world of Evil Dead, which was owned by Universal. Admitting Jason was a deadite meant legal matters and headaches. However, Marcus did say Sam Raimi loved Marcus's Easter egg in the film, but not many fans were sold on this unspoken connection between Evil Dead and Friday the 13th. And I get what they mean. We have never seen deadites live under the water or age. Also, the deadites' working style is loud as they taunt and trick people, but Jason was mute, who often worked in humorless, mysterious ways. So you see why many fans thought this to be a far-fetched link, but I'm not one to complain. Give me a world full of ghouls, cursed books, haunted cabins, and I'll play along. The more the merrier, you know? Invincible, Season 1, Episode 5. This reference can be easily missed, because it can be a stretched, if you ask me. In Season 1, Episode 5, titled That Actually Hurt, the creepy-looking notebook fell out of the closet and had a very close resemblance to the evil Book of the Dead. What makes it interesting is that the notebook belonged to a demon detective, Damien Darkblood, who escaped hell and now lived on Earth. Robert Kirkman, the creator of Amazon's animated superhero, is an avid horror lover, so it kinda makes sense that he would sneak in references from outside comic books. I somewhat like that the reference stayed small and the episode doesn't make a big deal out of it. A zealous horror fan will certainly catch it, smile at it, and move on. The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 5. What Comes After. The Walking Dead Season 9 Episode 5, titled What Comes After, is an important episode for the series. It is a bittersweet goodbye to Andrew Lincoln's Rick Grimes, who had spent most of the show wounded, weak, and looking over his shoulder. Greg Nicotero, a renowned prosthetic makeup artist, directed the episode. He framed it through flashbacks, with callbacks to the pilot, dead characters, and the idea that Rick was given no option but to carry the burden of being the leader for far too long. And it was his time to finally let go. And Nicotero did it rather flawlessly, but not before slyly sneaking an Evil Dead reference. Earlier in the episode, we see a wounded and half-conscious Rick seeking shelter in an abandoned cabin. The cabin looks eerily familiar to the one we see in The Evil Dead. While that might be just a coincidence because, after all haunted and spooky cabins look the same, more or less. A delirious Rick sees the corpses around him in the cabin, with one of the corpses tangled in the tree. The sight might remind many of us of the rapist demonic tree from The Evil Dead. Very close to the corpse lay a gun and the Book of the Dead in the dust. And that totally makes sense, because Greg Nicotero worked on the effects for Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. So, this was Nicotero's way of paying homage to the Evil Dead franchise, no matter how small. Nicotero and team went further with a tribute, as eagle-eyed fans also saw a deer's head mounted inside the cabin, which looked a lot like the deer's head that was possessed and hysterically laughing at Ash Williams in Evil Dead 2. However, these blink and you miss moments does not at all mean that The Walking Dead and The Evil Dead both share a universe. But would I complain if I got to know that it was the Book of the Dead which actually caused the zombie apocalypse? I mean, not really, but I would like to stick to Robert Kirkman's wildfire virus as the cause of the zombie outbreak in the series, because in the times we are living, that doesn't really seem very far from reality.
Love potions, summoning demons, the undead and...
SpongeBob SquarePants, Season 14. This one has to be a hilarious one. Because of all the places where a Necronomicon could appear, one would never expect to see it in Nickelodeon's SpongeBob SquarePants. Season 14 gave us an episode literally called Necronomicon, which cannot make the connection any more evident. The episode aired on February 20th, 2024. And began with SpongeBob messing up breakfast at the Krusty Krab kitchen. So he sets out to get a cookbook, but instead comes back with the Necronomicon. He finds a recipe which had some very questionable ingredients, like zombie teeth, dragon's breath, and eye of newt, among other things. An unfazed SpongeBob prepared the food and served it to the customers. But soon, people started to grow extra body parts. Meanwhile, the witch realized that her magical book had been swapped with a plain recipe book and headed to the restaurant. While the Necronomicon is a cursed book in its literal sense, SpongeBob SquarePants presents it more like a magical spell book. I would call this a reference or maybe even a parody instead of an actual Necronomicon Ex-Mortis reference. I mean, even Bruce Campbell, the actor who played Ash Williams in the Evil Dead franchise, could not hold himself back. He shared the same clip on X from the episode and jokingly warned, "Just don't say the words."
This looks like a page from a book of shadows.
What?
Pumpkinhead II, Bloodwings, 1994. Pumpkinhead II Bloodwings began in 1958 with the grisly murder of Tommy, the orphan demonic son of the demon Pumpkinhead, at the hands of a group of teens led by Dixon. The story jumps 35 years later, and a group of unruly teenagers led by Danny, who also happened to be the son of Dixon, hit an old witch connected to Tommy's past. Later, they break into the witch's cabin and find pages of the Necronomicon. Danny knocked the witch out, burned her cabin, and ran off with a vial of blood, which she was using to resurrect Tommy's corpse. However, unbeknownst to them, Danny had accidentally revived Pumpkinhead after he poured blood from one of the witch's vials onto Tommy's corpse and recited lines from her spellbook. Naturally, Tommy returned, and one by one, Dixon's friends begin dropping dead. So does this mean Pumpkinhead belongs to the Evil Dead universe? I mean, that's just wishful thinking. But the moment fans saw that page in the old witch's cabin, they knew it's gonna open doors that should have remained tight shut. While there was no official statement regarding this appearance, if a damned book can raise deadites, why not a demon looking for plain old revenge? Cast a Deadly Spell, 1991. Well, Cast a Deadly Spell might be the strongest entry in this video because instead of lying somewhere in the attic covered in dust, the ill-fated book finds itself in the middle of it all. The movie is set in 1948 Los Angeles, a time when magic was as normal as waking up every day. The film's plot revolved around Harry Philip Lovecraft, an ex-cop turned private detective who was hired by a wealthy businessman, Amos Hackshaw, to retrieve the Necronomicon after it was stolen. The book was more than just an antique, you see. It was powerful enough to help whoever had it open a portal that could unleash the old ones into Earth's realm and ultimately rule the world. So basically, everyone wanted the book for themselves. The Necronomicon in the movie played an integral part and was more than just a prop. Unlike The Evil Dead, where people unintentionally read from the book unaware of its consequences. Here, everyone understood the significance of it and didn't see any problem in using it as a tool for world domination. You know, I thought books were supposed to make us wiser. These appearances of the book go on to show that the Necronomicon is bigger than one franchise alone. You can put that little wretched book in any franchise and fans will instantly recognize it by a mile. And every time that book appears, even for a second, it makes the world on screen a lot more fun for anyone who caught the reference. So these are my thoughts. Please feel free to let me know yours in the comments. This is Will signing off. And as always, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel for more such content. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one.